Well, hello everybody. How you doing? Dave Fennoy here, and what is it today? It's the 8th of January, 2020, or 2020 if you prefer, and this is the first Ask Dave Fennoy Anything of the year. And first one up, Alex Wood. There ought to be a prize or something, but there's not. Thomas, how you doing? And Mark Preston, good to see you. In case you haven't noticed, I've got all this fuzz here. Oh, and hello. The reason I have all the fuzz, I did a movie over the holiday. It's a film called Hellhole. It's a horror film, and I play a miner, not a young person, somebody who digs for gold. I can't believe that every time I say, oh yeah, I'm playing a miner in this movie, they go, aren't you a little old for that? And I'm like, no, miner as in like digging for gold. My co-star in the movie, and I actually shouldn't say we're starring because they're not the main roles, but Tiny Lister. And for those of you who do not recognize the name, maybe you've seen the movie Friday, Debo. Or maybe you've seen The Fifth Element. He plays the president. And one thing about being on a movie set with some actors that you're doing scenes with, you get to talk a lot and find out all kinds of interesting facts about all the people he's worked with. And his list is long. And I was drinking it all in because he's been in about 225 movies. So that was a lot of fun. As I return to what I mostly do, which is voiceover. Let's see, some comments. Alex, I had a heart attack when I saw that picture. It looked like you cut your dreads. No, they had my locks. Let me take this out of my ear. Had my locks pulled back, and I was wearing a hat, and if you didn't look carefully, it looked like the dreads were gone. Until nature takes them away, I don't think they'll be going. Mary Claire Garcia, how you doing? Michael Glover, what's going on? Byron, how you doing? Kevin Michael Henderson, Verna, I see you. Janessa Morgan, hey. Well, let's get right to it. This is Ask Dave Fennoy Anything. So you got some questions about voiceover? I want to hear from you. I'm going to answer those questions to the best of my ability. And of course, since you print them there on the side, from time to time, somebody else will have a good answer, or a better answer, or an answer that might be different, but also good for what it is you are asking. Couple things. I was talking with a student earlier today, and she had gotten an audition for a dubbing job. And she said, well, it's a dubbing job. How do I handle that? And I said, well, let's talk about what dubbing is. Dubbing is like anime. It's taking one voice and replacing it with another voice in a film, in a cartoon, in a television show. And it's been very big in two places that most of us who are English speakers know about. One is anime, which, dubbing in English-speaking voices for the Japanese in that particular form of animation. And in the Spanish market, it has been huge for decades because so many shows that are in English are dubbed into Spanish all over the world. Well, guess what? The world is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And thanks to the internet and places like Amazon Prime Videos and Netflix and Hulu, hit shows from around the world are being dubbed into English now. Video games from around the world are being dubbed into English now. And they're not looking to have the dubbing happen like it used to happen. Remember the old Japanese martial arts films? And you'd say, "You shot my master!" You'd get that extra lip flap. And you had those voices that were very stiff, and they were just talking like this, and you could not... Well, nowadays, we won't listen to that. We won't watch that. So the dubbing has to be much better. It requires a much higher level of acting. and sensitivity to who the parts are, to matching the lip flap and tone and temperament of the actors whose voices you are replacing. But it's becoming a thing in the United States now. There are several places in LA now that are doing dubbing. I believe in Atlanta they're doing some dubbing. Now, they've always done other Spanish dubbing around the United States, dubbing programs in English to Spanish. But we're looking at a much bigger other language to English dubbing market now, so keep your ears open. And from time to time, I'll give you some tips on where you might find that works. Let's see. What's up, brother man? You knew you wouldn't get together for a class? Well, I'll bring that up right now. I've got some classes coming up that you might be interested in. Not always just me, but up at Voice Track San Francisco. If you're somebody who's up there and listening, I'll be doing a 2-day workshop Friday and Saturday, January 31st and February 1st. Get Your Game On is coming to town, which, once again, this is a big voiceover conference and convention and workshop. Get Your Game On February 28th. It's going to be at the Marriott Burbank Airport, and it will feature not only me, but Tom Keegan, who's a very well-known director of many video games, Andre Toyas, Blizzard's very well-known director and also teacher. Both Tom and Andrea teach. Mark S. Dale, who has studios here in Los Angeles and also in London, and I probably think he's directed more video games than I can think of anybody. He's been doing this for about 30 years. And once again, myself. And we'll be doing some panels all day and some workshops all day. And I invite you to check it out. Get Your Game On Los Angeles. And the biggie that's coming up a month after that, which is VO Atlanta. And once again, I recommend going to these kinds of things. And for the overall voiceover conventions, you don't get better than VO Atlanta. My two favorite, that's voiceover and VO Atlanta. VO Atlanta is 4 days. There are going to be lots and lots of what they call X sessions, opportunities for you to have a small group and work for several hours on particular areas of voiceover. And because it's such a do-it-yourself business these days, there are a lot of X sessions not on just how you use your voice in the various genres, but how you can find clients, how you build them, how you communicate with them, how you find work, different ways of doing that. It really is an all-encompassing voiceover business conference. And of course, lots of scholarships are given away. There are lots of vendors that will be there with voiceover products and booths and microphones and anything that you can think of for voiceover. And of course, voiceover people. I've watched this thing grow year after year after year. It started out, I think there were maybe a couple hundred people. The last time I went, which was the year before last, there were 500 to 600 people going to this, and I am going to guess we're going to hit 700 or 800 people, and lots of information. It's a great time. And your brain will explode with as much information and really fantastic voiceover professionals sharing their experiences and wisdom and techniques with you, including yours truly. All right, let's see. Alex Wood, can I tell you something? Remember that agent I had talks with? Guess who got added to his roster? Bravo, bravo. Again, one of the best things about voiceover, we pat each other on the back. I just know you are those people. When somebody you know gets a job, be happy for them. I've always felt like, hey, Bill Holmes, how you doing? One of the best that ever did and got away with it. I always feel like if somebody I know got booked, it means I'm closer to it, as opposed to they got that job that was meant for me. You're going to get yours. So be thankful when people you know get work. Randy Morrison, what's going on? We'll be talking about Connection Open very soon, by the way. Randy Morrison being the man behind Connection Open, and I've done some testing with him, and there are some exciting things happening. Michael Palladini, what's going on? Lisa Soden, how you doing? Elliot, okay. Didn't realize my former message said I can't. It's meant. Oh, okay. Well, I don't need that. Howdy from Texas. There you go. How you doing? I may have a crowdfunding to afford via. I may have to do a crowdfunding. Well, you never know. You also might look into scholarships. There are some scholarships to VO Atlanta, and once you're there are scholarships for other things. Elliot Sloan, hope you're doing well, Dave. What kinds of microphones do you typically recommend, or at least which one should I probably stay away from? There's a wide variety of microphones that are very good, and it comes down to are they reliable? Are they accurate in how they portray your voice, your personal preference? Typically, I like to go with what's in use professionally. Now that range is wider now than it used to be. In my booth right now, and believe I have a collection of microphones, but I always end up going back to my 416, which is a shotgun mic, and my TLM 103, my Neumann TLM 103. You can't go wrong with either of those microphones. Blue microphone makes some good. Once you get into the higher end of microphones, they make some good microphones. Rode, the NT1, many people love it. And an AKG 414 or the 214, which is a knockoff, it just doesn't have the pattern change, are also very good microphones. You're looking for a travel mic, the Apogee iPad mic is very good. Blue has their own version, which I'm using right now. Their Blue Raspberry, which is also a very nice mic. So the choices are tremendous. What I suggest is not spend all of your money. Get the best mic you can afford. If you can afford to spend $1,000, you can afford a Sennheiser 416. You'll also be able to afford a Neumann TLM 103. Those are probably the best mics for the best price for someone, and those are mics that will last you a lifetime. You may end up like me and just, let me try this mic. Oh, let me try that mic. Let me try and buy a few mics, and sometimes the companies give me mics, but I keep coming back to my 416 and my 103. All right. By the way, we're doing a poll here. Keep the beard, lose the beard, keep the beard, or lose the beard. God, do not buy Alex Wood. God, do not buy a snowball. Just don't. No, don't do it. And, one of the things happening with microphones now, they're very specific for why they're made. There are microphones that are just for gaming, just for podcasts. You don't necessarily need as wonderful a microphone for video gaming or podcasting as you do for broadcasting and voiceover work. So keep that in mind. Okay. Hope you're doing okay. Okay, that was a question, Elliot. What kinds of microphones? So let's stay away from the snowball. For voiceover work, I would stay away from the Yeti. There are a few others out there, but better to go with the positive, the things you should get as opposed to the things you shouldn't get. All right. What is it? Fill it out more. What's that? I can afford hand-me-downs. Now, who's giving mics away? Janessa Morgan, you should be a comedian. Your posts are very funny on Facebook, and now you're even being funny here. Keep the beard. Oh, for the love of God. Oh, well, thank you. Isabella Tugman, how are you, and what's going on? What else did I want to talk about here? Oh, I was reading an article that my friend J. Michael Collins wrote. It offers some really good advice on step-by-step how you begin and complete your voiceover career, or how you get started and keep going. There was some really good advice in there, and I made a comment. I wanted to add something because people get very, very, very hung up on, did I do the right thing here? Did I do the right thing here? Oh, if you don't do it all right, it's not going to work for you. My first demo was so bad. Not the talent necessarily on the demo, but the demo itself. In a world where long demos were acceptable, when I say long, I mean 3 minutes, my demo was 5 minutes plus. It was filled with radio spots because I was in radio at the time. I just didn't know any better. Fortunately, when I finally got a meeting with an agent up in San Francisco, I think she's still with us, Joan Spangler. Finally, when I got a meeting with her after I'd sent her my demo like several months before, she sat me down for a few minutes. She said, well, you're clearly talented, but your demo sucks. Redo it and then come back and see me in 6 months. I think a little bit of it was a test to see if I had the stick-to-itiveness to come back in 6 months. Would I put my time and effort into fixing that broken demo? And, was I serious? I was, I did, voila. And that was 1989. Wow. Long time. Well, was it 1988? Might have been 1988. But the point that I was going to say, if you've made some mistakes, don't worry about it. Move on. Correct your mistakes and move on. You're going to make some mistakes. Even if you're following that pattern A, B, C, D, E on down the line, you're going to make some mistakes. What's more important than doing everything perfectly is persevering, is continuing, is to getting up every day and applying yourself to voiceover. I'll tell you about a friend of mine. We worked together in radio. I'm not going to mention her name. But every year, a few months from Christmas, she would say, oh, Dave, can you help me get a voiceover demo together? I want to take advantage of all that Christmas work. And I don't know why she didn't listen to me every year. Every year I said, well, you're too late. This is August, and they're already doing that Christmas work. Also, this is not something that you just jump in and out of. If you're going to do voiceover, you've got to give it the same kind of attention that you would give any other career that you might have. If you happen to be somebody who does very well on camera, you've got a little help, your name quantity, and sometimes work just comes your way because of who you are and the character of yourself that you have established. But for most of us, you got to have the right demos. You got to keep knocking on doors. You need a good agent. You need to audition well. And nowadays, from the time I started, I didn't have to have a home studio when I started. You've got to have a home studio now. If you're not in the union, you have to generate your own work, either by the pay-to-play sites or your own efforts getting in touch with clients. There's a lot that you have to do. You're going to make some mistakes. Just keep pressing forward. All right, Michael. Happy new decade. Looks like someone has their playoff beard on. Oh, that's right. There are the football playoffs. And I know, being friends with some of you, that some of your teams won and some of your teams lost. And for those of you who won, yay. For those of you who lost, yeah. Sorry, couldn't help myself. No worries, we'll do. I had to use a snowball for a podcast in high school. But you know what, Elliot, using a snowball for a podcast, nothing's wrong with that. And you say you were in high school, it's probably what you could afford or what your mom and daddy would buy you. All right. Keep the beard, keep the beard. Ron, Joseph, how are you? Blessings ahead. Dave, thank you very much. And right back at you. Pamela Antoine, Dave, keep the beard. Looks nice. Happy New Year. Kevin, Katie, how did you approach your training in the 80s? And what's your biggest takeaway from said training? Cheers. Good question, Kevin. And good to see you, by the way. The training was a little different. Of course, it couldn't be online because we didn't have it online. And my first training was, oh God, what's her name? She was Smurfette. And somebody had given me her name when I said I was interested in voiceover and animation. And I went to her apartment and did a lesson for $50. And she said, "Oh, you're pretty good. Just go on out there and do it." Now, I wish she'd given me more, or I wish I'd had the sense to say, well, great, but let me keep coming back. But the $50 was important to me then. I thought, okay, I guess I don't need to. But I was working from time to time, and not as often as I wanted, but I had a radio gig, so I was doing okay. And a buddy of mine, Toby Gleason, who is no longer doing voiceover, he's moved on to do some other things. But Toby and I got in the business about the same time, and we were booking about the same rate. We were booking something every month, every 2 months. He and I would both get a booking, and suddenly he started booking like every other week or two, sometimes 2 weeks in a row. And I was like, well, what the hell? What are you doing, Toby? And he didn't really want to tell me. But he finally did. He said, "I'm taking voiceover lessons. I've taken some classes, and now I'm doing private lessons with a woman, Samantha Paris. She has a place called Voice Tracks over in Sausalito." Well, I started taking lessons there. And how the lessons differ probably has more to do with technology than anything else. Acting is acting is acting is acting. And what I was taught then was that thing that I did on the radio, which was use the big voice and over-enunciate things and romance the words. That can work for radio, and it's going to work in a few places. But the idea of this for commercials wasn't going to work. Probably the place that what I was used to doing was going to work best was in promos. Because you could have that big tonight on an all-new so-and-so. It's going to be such and such and such. That would work there. But it wasn't going to work on national commercials. So what I had to start learning was how to relax, use more of this voice, who I am, who my character is, what my worldview is on the thing that I'm talking about, know who I'm talking to. These things haven't changed. The technology has changed. And I took workshops. And I'm going to tell you the story of the workshop that changed my life. I took a workshop over a weekend, and it was with an agent from Sutton, Barth, and Venari at the time. Lee Gilbert was her name, and at the end of the workshop, she says, you're pretty talented. If you ever decide to do voiceover in Los Angeles, we would love to represent you. Here's my card. When you're ready, give me a call. Come on down, and let's do this. And I was a morning jack on a radio station there, so I was like, oh, yeah, great. Well, as soon as I'm making as much money in voiceover as I am in the radio, I'll do that. Of course, 3 months later, the radio station, as the radio stations are wont to do, fired the whole staff, including me. And I had to go find her card and give her a call. Were you serious? She said yes. And I had to put together a new demo. And I didn't move to L.A. right away. First, I was driving to L.A. every week. I stayed with a buddy of mine from high school for a month. I stayed with an uncle of mine for a month. Then I got an apartment with another guy who was doing the same thing. And on Friday, on Friday night or Saturday morning, I would drive from Los Angeles back home to Berkeley. And on Sunday night or Monday morning, I would drive back to Los Angeles. I did that for 8 or 9 months before I finally moved down here. And why am I telling you that? Because to do anything that you're not doing, to do anything well, you're going to have to do something you're not doing now. You're going to have to believe in yourself. You're going to have to take that existential leap. So that's the story of one of the reasons you might want to take some workshops, to get the attention of the people who can do something for you, who can represent you, who can hire you. There's a thing going on, workshops in LA now. They're usually an evening, but it's an evening with a casting person from Disney or some video game company or who knows what. But somebody who makes decisions about who gets hired. If you are ready, it's worth it to take those workshops, because how else are you going to get somebody to see you, notice you, know you exist? And that's so much of it, is knowing that you exist, knowing that you're there, hearing your work, and you want to enlist them on your side. Sandra Patterson Dyson, hi Dave. I don't have any over-the-top microphones. I have an AKG 214. That's a good mic. And a Stellar X2. I don't know that one. Both are pretty reasonable and not too bad, I might add. As I don't know about the Stellar X2. I do know about the AKG the C214. It's a really good mic. It's a knockoff of their legendary C414. The only difference is you can't change the patterns. Well, who cares? And it's very reasonably priced. Good choice. Isabella Tugman, should every voice actor have a go-to sound style read? How should versatile voice actors market themselves? Really good question, Isabella. I think about the late, great Don LaFontaine. Don had one thing. That was Don. He had that gravelly voice in a world. And that's what he did, and he is still the workingest voiceover actor by far of anybody. One trick pony. I think of my buddy Joe Cipriano. What do you hear Joe on? TV promos. TV promos after TV promos after TV promos after TV promos. Joe is not a guy who's doing character work. Joe is being Joe. His voice is his voice, and his voice has made him millions of dollars. So you don't have to be the most versatile person in the world, especially if that thing you do is so unique to you and so good. So don't feel like, well, I can't imitate all these voices. I don't have all these character voices in me. It's okay. Be the best you can be. Now, if you do have a lot of different kinds of voices that you can do, you have to have a demo that demonstrates that. On the demos that I produce for people for video games, I always want your signature voice, your real voice, to show up first before you jump into different accents or different kinds of voices. And I always want you to keep returning to that. The reason being, people have to get a handle on who you are. If you can do 50 different voices, but none of them sound anything alike, they may go, wow, that person's really talented, but they're not quite sure what to do with you. If they keep hearing you, come back to that signature voice, come back to a voice that they can grab a hold of. Much better for you. They get an idea who you are, and then it's like, well, this person, I know who they are, and I know they can do a lot of different things. In terms of your demos, you might consider, okay, you have a demo that's much more straight in whatever your normal voice is, and then another demo that even commercially that are character voices. But you want to give them that opportunity to come back and hear who you really are. So when you say go to sound, style, read, that's the first thing you want. Who are you? You are the secret sauce in your career. There is something about everybody's voice that is going to endear them to people. The way the world hears you may not be the way you hear yourself. As a matter of fact, while I'm mentioning that, on Saturday I'm going to be doing a workshop to Egypt. A friend of mine over there has a voiceover business, and I'm going to talk to some Egyptian voice actors about finding their signature voices. The issues we have here are the same issues people in voiceover have around the world. This year I'm going to be doing some more webinars, and one of them will be finding your signature voice. Because so many of us, we listen. Billy Shallower, we always fight on Facebook over politics, but it's good to see you, man. We have, now where was it? Billy, you took me off my train of thought and I can't remember a thing. We have to find our signature voices. We are listening to the Don LaFontaines of the world, the Joe Ciprianos of the world. Maybe you're listening to the Dave Fennoys of the world. And you're thinking in your head, I should mention some women voices too, the Lori Allens and so forth. And you're thinking in your head, wow, that person's doing so well. If I sounded like that, let me sound like this person. Let me get that. That's what's working. That's what's getting hired. So if I'm that, I will get hired too. And you're ignoring the special thing you have, which is you, your voice, the way you make people feel. Nobody has your voice except you. Lean into that. If you can do some other things, great. But lean into your voice. And what I'll be talking about with these Egyptian voice actors will be some exercises I have for helping to find what you really sound like. Have you noticed all your favorite character actors? They always seem to be playing themselves. They may be more animated in something, or more somber, or more funny, but the essence of them is always there. They always give you a certain feeling. You have that too. And part of what you have to do is be on a discovery trip to find yourself in this career. All right. Did I answer that okay? I'm registered for a trailer workshop with Brent Allen Hagel. All right, Kevin. Good deal. Good deal. I'm a great believer in continuing education. Try things that you're not doing now. You don't know what's the industry picks what you're going to do so often. You've decided. When I came to town, and I think I've mentioned this before, I wanted to be the next Don LaFontaine. I wanted to be a trailer guy. I wanted to do those trailer reads tonight on so and so and such and such. In a world where, well, I've done some trailers, but I haven't done nearly the number of trailers that I thought I was going to do. Instead, I had to put up with a really good career doing a bunch of other stuff. So don't be surprised if that thing that you thought you were born to do isn't what the industry chooses for you. And don't be surprised if they choose a few different things that you might not have figured on. Trikina, what advice would you give someone transitioning from 9 to 5? From the 9 to 5 to voiceover actor. That's a tough one because most of us were doing something. We had some kind of job that we were doing before we took on full-time voiceover. First of all, I'm going to say whatever the job is you have, don't just quit it. But start cutting back on your spending. Save your money. Don't buy that new car. Don't put more money on your credit card. Save your money. Put that money away so that when you finally do make that leap of faith, you have something behind you. I know you won't have had enough money. You won't be able to, I've got 5 years worth of money saved up. So you won't have that, but you'll have something. Maybe it's 6 months. Maybe it's a year. Believe me, it makes a difference when you know you can cover yourself for a certain period of time. That would be the first thing that I would do in that transition from 9 to 5 is put some money away. Start living simply. Forget about all those going out to dinners and huge Christmases and whatnot. And let the people around you know what you're doing so they understand. After that, make sure the money that you are spending, you're spending on your career. You're making an investment in yourself, an investment in your business. So you want the right demos. You want the right equipment. And you don't have to buy the most expensive equipment, but buy very good equipment that's going to last and serve you well. And get representation if you can, or if you're not getting representation, make sure you have developed how to get business, whether it's with the pay-to-play sites or on your own. But of course, that's time-consuming, and it's going to mean you're going to have to sacrifice some time away from work. So maybe you're not going to get to watch as much television as you thought you were. Maybe you're not going to get to go out to as many movies. Your weekends, instead of just chilling and hanging and having nice brunches, you're going to be spending time making sure that your career goals are together. All right. Oh, Janessa, get a sugar daddy. Okay. Let's see. Thomas, is there a ratio of income to training that we should be budgeting for on top of convictions? That's an interesting question. I know there are some people who will say, absolutely, your ratio to how much money you spend on training and on your demo should be da-da-da-da-da-da. We're still in a business that is art. And you can't always just quantify, if I do this, then this. Now, I can promise you, if you put in the work, you will get some work. But you may get more work than you thought you would. You may get less work than you thought you would. And there is some equation of how many auditions you do to how many auditions you get. That is true and real. But I can't tell you that, if I spend $5,000 this year on training, that next year I'm going to make $50,000. I can't tell you that. I won't tell you that. But if you have talent and you train and you put in the work you're supposed to put in, good things will happen for you. Hey, Jeff Brown, what's up? One of the funniest people on the planet. Mark Darren, how you doing? Good to know that you're healthy or getting healthy. Brad Ducker, hello, Dave. I'm new. I've trained how to find work when I'm not in a large... I've trained how to find work when I'm not in a large market area. Oh, okay. You want to know how to find work when you're not in a large market area. Well, you're nobody unless you have a website these days. And they don't always have to know where you actually are. So make sure your website is very professional, that when they come to your website, they can hear your demos, that your website portrays you in a very professional way and gives people an idea of what you sound like. It has the same feel as the thing that you do, and that they can get in touch with you very easily. Nowadays, thanks to the internet, you can do this business from just about anywhere. There is a caveat, if you want to do a AAA games, AAA commercials, AAA cartoons, you might have to be in Los Angeles. But there's a lot of other work, regional work, even some AAA work that you can do from home, especially commercials and narration. So make sure you look professional, sound professional, treat your clients in a professional manner, and you can do it from different places. There are a number of people I know who don't live in Los Angeles, New York, or Chicago and having very successful careers. Jeff Lone Tree, when reading character scripts, I can't afford all the microphones. It sounds different. I can't afford all the microphones. It sounds different with Neumann mics and or Sennheiser. Should I focus on one mic? Let's see. It sounds different with Neumann mic. Jeff, because I have several mics, I've been doing this a long time, and I got a mic collection. One really good mic is enough. The 416 you can use on anything. The 103 you can use on anything. Now, the 416 is a shotgun mic, and its original purpose was for film and television, so they could have that very directional mic out of the shot. Like if my finger were the mic, thank God I'm not using my middle finger, it could be just out of the shot, pointed at my mouth, and they could hear what I was saying very clearly because it's very directional. And because of that and its sensitivity, you can work it from the side, you can work it from in front, and it'll work in any of those situations. And became popular because there was a voiceover actor in LA that did not want to be in a private room by himself. He wanted to be with everybody else. And that worked in a studio where other people were, and maybe there were some tape machine sounds. So if that's what you get, great. It's going to work for you. You don't need to get another microphone. If you like the TLM 103, great. You don't need another microphone. One of the things I liked about the 103, it has the same capsule as a Neumann U87, which is one of the legendary mics of the world. And but the U87 is very picky about what room you put it in. It's kind of stuck up. I'm a U87. I don't work in small rooms. But the 103 will. So you don't need a collection. One mic will cover everything. And I know there are some people who, oh no, I use this mic for this and this mic for this and this mic for that. Other than if you're going to be doing live music, get a dynamic mic. If you're going to be doing studio recording, get a condenser mic. That's about as big a difference as I want you to think about for what application you're using that mic for. Okay, Sandra Patterson Dyson, do some research on the Stellar X2. I think you'll be surprised. Okay, well, there are a lot of great mics out there. I wouldn't be surprised if I were surprised. Rudy Abel Booth Junkie tested Stellar. He was impressed. Booth Junkie tested, so he was impressed. Everett Oliver, one of the best ever did and got away with it in animation. Work on your marketing, he says to you, Trakina White. Work on your marketing. Absolutely. Good idea. Well, I think we've just about come down to the end of it. A couple things I wanted to mention again. Well, first of all, thank you for tuning in or logging in, I guess. And I hope I've answered some questions for you. I want to remind you about a couple of things. For private lessons, you can always go to my website and book yourself, davefennoy.com. Click on the Study VO tab, and you'll find me there. Don't forget about Get Your Game On February 28th. Not just me, but Director Tom Keegan, Director Andre Toyas, Director Mark Esdale, myself, and several other voice actors will be there all day with workshops and panels on the biggest entertainment industry in the world, which of course are video games. And also, of course, don't forget about VO Atlanta. I can't stress enough what a wonderful voiceover convention that is. So That said, wait, one more. Thank you, Dave, for your time. Oh, you're very welcome. Um, I will see you next Wednesday, same time, same station. Oh, that's right. It's not a station. It's Facebook Live. I'll see you next week. In the meantime, book something, okay? Talk to you.